something to be looked into.
So, Chief Santos, in terms of your response to issues in our campuses when it comes to the cell phones, what I love about VIPD, guys, is they have the resources that VIDE does not. And so we've experienced some issues with 911 calls, for
Yes,
example.
yes.
Can you talk a little bit about what you've been seeing?
Sure, sure. I'll speak about one of the most recent issues that we've had. One of the students made a prank call to 911. When that happened, our school resource officers, they went straight out there immediately. And imagine a phone call where someone calls and says, hey, there's a person on campus with a gun. Could you imagine the amount of panic from parents hearing something like that? And then now all the parents got to leave from where they're at because they want to make sure their child is safe. And so when that call came out, the officers responded. We worked very, very close with our 911 system, the dispatchers at 911. We were able to get the phone number. We were able to get the recording of the individual. We were able to match that the phone number and the recording to that individual. And we ended up taking him into custody immediately because that type of behavior should not be tolerated whatsoever because, again, you have taken resources out of the field. 911 could have been handling a different call at that time, or that officer or officers could have stopped some other crime from happening somewhere within the island. So that takes away from the resources. So we had to go ahead and take that child into custody.
And it's important for us to mention that resources are being pulled.
Yes.
And I mentioned the last time we were on, Mr. Mason, that when if you cry wolf a lot, eventually people start to believe that it's not real.
Yes.
And that's my biggest concern. So, in terms of the students mentioning that we infringing on their rights, well, their real rights in public education is to a quality public education. There's
Correct.
nothing in our system that says that we have to allow cell phones into the classroom. What the board's policy says is that cell phones can be used as instructional tools to enhance the learning experience in our schools. But we're finding that it has become a distraction. So at that time, I mentioned to the students, Chief Santos, that I visited a campus in DC. And it was a newly built campus built by MCN builders who are also doing the construction of the Arthur Richards site. And when I walked onto the high school campus, I looked to my left and there were these small lockers. And I said to the principal, what are those? And she said, cell phone lockers. And I actually witnessed the students coming on. They put their cell phones in the locker, they took out the key, and they went to their class. At the end of the day, they retrieved their phones. So I even mentioned that to the students, and because they become so used to this technology, students are actually texting parents from in the classroom.
It's true.
Parents are coming on campuses to address situations that sometimes the administration is not aware of. And so it creates a safety issue in some cases as well. And so we have to be hyper vigilant in our roles as leaders to ensure that at the end of the day, the safety of our students, the safety of our employees is what really matters, right?
Yes.
And so parents, we need you to do your part as well. And part of what we're seeing in our campuses is this feud that has no explanation in many cases as to why you don't like this person,
Right.
why you beefing. Some of the issues that we're seeing come from in the communities. And a lot of times, Mr. Mason, I think that the community feels like the Department of Education is expected to solve everything on our own, but it really requires our parents and the community being valued partners in the education of our children. So what are your thoughts on that?
Well, definitely what you said, the parents play a vital role
Yes.
in in the safety and education of the students when they come to school, because you have to start from small. You can't really start when they grow up to tell them what to do. So they play integral part because everything starts at home. Okay, you come to school to learn. You come to school to get an education, and when you have teachers have to babysit and solve problems, fights, disruption, it's taken back from learning. So we as parents, we got to educate our children and tell them, listen, you're going to school to get an education. Okay, so that's what you're there for. So everything else don't matter. So, and the parents have to put the foot down. You have to question the kids, question the children, find out what's going on. Okay, and that's how we gonna get some of this. So you have to be a partnership between education, the parents, and VIPD.
But not only that, Mr. Mason, I'd like to add, if you don't mind, Commissioner, I went to a parent-teacher meeting with my niece who goes to Central High and the situation she was in. So I took off the chief hat. Now I'm uncle. And I went to the school on the behalf of a mother, and I'm sitting in this parental. So it's myself, my niece, this other young lady, and her mother. So we're listening to everything that's going on. And so after everything was said and done, the main issue was not those two girls at all. It was some other kids. So I looked at my niece and I said, tell her sorry. So the mother watched me like, oh. So when that happened now, that relieved a lot of stress off of her, because I saw that she was coming in to be like aggressive throughout the entire meeting. And when that was all said and done, the mother looked at her daughter and said, now you tell her sorry. And so it showed that collaboration between two adults that says, this whole nonsense, y'all ain't start nothing, but you guys have to resolve it and squash it right now. So we both had an agreement without even talking about it. And it takes that collaboration, because it takes a village to raise a child.
Yes, it
and
does.
all of us as adults need to be able to collectively come to these parent-teachers meetings whenever they do happen, and not fight against each other or fight because my child fight yours or what. No, we need to come together and say, listen, we need to stop this nonsense together as adults and let these children see how to resolve issues.
A situation today at Juanita Garden School. I was sitting because I wanted to check on the monitors today, and the kindergarten class was coming down, and a parent came to pick up a kindergarten, and one of the little kindergarten told the parent that your daughter did something to her. So the parent tell the little girl, tell her sorry. The little girl said, I didn't do nothing. No, tell her sorry. The little girl look, and the little girl said, okay, come give me a hug. She just walk up to her and give her a hug. I said, wow, you know. So it shows you that, you know, you talk to your children, you talk to them, and the little girl just, and that touched my heart. I mean, it was, you know, real.
And so, you know, being that I've been in different capacities over the course of my tenure in the department, my years in the Department of Education, one of the things that we did extensively when I was a principal was work on conflict resolution with our students, right? How do we get them to see that conflicts can be resolved by having a conversation?
Correct.
Again, I had the opportunity to sit in meetings. We had this thing with St. John against St. Thomas, right? And so there was a feud between Smith Bay students and St. John students. And one day we were called into a meeting with the superintendent at that time. And when parents were invited into the meeting, parents got an opportunity to see who the children were that were feuding with their particular child. And then parents realized that it was family members. They didn't even know that this whole feud, which was something that was carried on for years, was involving children who were related. And so a lot of times we need our parents to be more of partners in assisting us in resolving these issues, rather than coming onto the campuses and fueling the flame. Because if you coming on and displaying the disruptive behavior in front of your child, then what do you leave for the child to do? And so every time we have a disturbance in our schools, it is taken away of the time for quality instruction. And that's not something that we at the Department of Education really should be focused on.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
So, Chief Santos, one of the things that we've seen around the nation is an increase in school shootings.
Yes.
And, that's something that, I pray against every single day, because that's not something as an educator, as a parent, we want to happen in our schools. Yes. What would you say to the parents again, or even to our employees about being vigilant in their environments to pay attention? Because a lot of times we don't pay attention. Yeah. We go along with our busy schedules, and you may see signs and we don't pay attention.
Pay attention to those signs. They're very important. There are many telltale signs, such as those same students being very quiet all of a sudden. Their behaviors have changed drastically. Even to the way how they may dress, come to school may change. Pay attention to those changes, and it doesn't hurt to have a small conversation with them. How you doing? Because maybe that one point, that child might trust you to the point that they want to tell you what's really going on. And that's one of the things that our officers, I tell them to make sure you do, pay attention, and they pay attention. They really do. And you have to do that, because I do it at work. It's very important that I do it at work with my officers as well. Whenever I can see them, and I do see them, just hi, how you doing? How's everything going at the job? So that's very important for us to do, to pay attention, because you don't know what's going through that child's mind at the time. And before you know it, they go home, come back, and something may happen. I was just telling some students this morning that up in the mainland, we just had a case that finished where a child went into a school and shot 6 other children. And this is the first time ever that the parents were held liable.
Correct. I saw that.
You saw that, right? So now those parents are now arrested as well.
And prosecuted.
For the actions of their son. So I stress that now, so that parents can now see that the law is now holding parents accountable for the actions of their children. Now, the whole thing about that is to say, well, if your child was home showing certain behaviors, acting out, all these different things, it's up to you to try and get your child help. Mental health is a big thing from the past couple of years now. A lot of our young ones have been experiencing different types of traumas and so forth that may turn them into a direction in which has been different from when they was raised.
Of course.
And so these are things that we have to pay attention to. Don't be afraid to go seek counseling for your young ones. Right.
And so part of what we're doing at the Department of Education is looking at how can we support our parents. And I had the opportunity to be at the 2024 Kids Count Summit today. Over here in St. Croix, and in the room were critical stakeholders, not only public servants, but nonprofit organizations. Nice. And we started the discussion about, okay, we see that we have a problem. We have a problem with academic achievement. We have a problem with social issues in our community, in our schools. We have an economic problem, a poverty level problem. How do we see the issues that we have, own the issues that we have, right? And work to solve the issues and come up with solutions rather than the pointing fingers. Yes. Because obviously everybody points their fingers at education as if education can solve the problems of the community. We cannot in isolation. That's right. And just like we're saying that it takes a village to raise a child, it takes all of us working together as a community, recognizing that we got to step up. And if you have a nonprofit and you're able to offer services to our students, partner with a school. Yes. Let's get our resources together and maximize them so that we're servicing our families. And that's near and dear to my heart, because parents are struggling too, Yeah. There's no manual that tells you how to be an effective parent. Right. And imagine if you're a single parent trying to make ends meet. You work in 2-3 jobs. When you get home, it's 11, child in the bed. You really don't know what's going on. So we also have to be sensitive to where our parents are, but it's a serious time.
Yeah.
And I'm glad you mentioned that situation in the States, because parents, you will be tried.
Yes.
You will be tried. So no longer can we turn a blind eye.
No.
We have to pay attention to what's happening. But you said something that I had a discussion with Senator James on, because she was at the same summit. And she says every day a student comes to school and they rest a bag of problems at the door.
Yes.
And it is the hope that the teacher will see that there's a bag of problems here, and I need to touch bases with this child. But then in their defense, the teacher may also have their own bag,
problems,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Or may not feel qualified
Right.
to address the student.
Right.
And so when I talk about partnerships, I'm talking about that type of stuff. Mentors, wraparound service, our private providers offering services to families, and different things that we can pool our resources together to help our people.
Yes.
Because again, this is a systemic problem. This is a community problem that is impacting the work that we're doing also at the Department of
Yes.
Education. And so, Mr. Mason?
And if you see something, say something.
Oh, yeah.
If you realize, because you as a parent mightn't see it, but you as an outsider looking in might be able to see that problem. Say something about it. I know we in the community now, we don't want to get involved in other people's business and saying, oh yeah, my child and my this, but it's all our children.
Yes.
It's all our children, because one day it might come back to affect you, the person who don't want to talk about it. So if you see something happening and you see a child going the wrong way, say something to somebody.
Yeah.
You might be able to help them, but by saying something to somebody, that person might be able to get help for them.
Correct.
Correct. And again, it's the partnership. So, Chief Santos, is there anything else that you would like the community to know about the work that you're doing with the Department of Education?
Yeah, definitely. We currently started some programs out here in the community. We still have our PAL program going on. We have our Weed and Seed program going on. We have our Cadet Program.
Talk about that.
Very, very
Talk
proud
about
of.
that.
I just left those cadets just a while ago before coming here. We have some testing coming up for them. So about the Cadet Program, once they have completed the program, they have the ability, if they choose to come to become a community service officer. Once they come into the department as a community service officer and they finish the cadet program, they also have an opportunity to waive the test to go into the police academy, so that they don't have to take the test, because pretty much they did a whole lot within the school level. We're talking about ways of policing, constitutional law, the amendments. They go through all of that in there. So I'm really proud of them. They did an excellent job.
Nice.
And so we'll be holding some ceremonies for them coming up
How
shortly.
many students?
I think today I met about 11 students in the program. Yeah.
Is there a possibility of extending that to other schools, other high schools?
Yes, I've been speaking to Lieutenant Jamal Griffin today, and he's been pretty busy with doing some of his stuff. But after having a conversation with him, I think that definitely we're going to go that road. I think one of the senators was actually interested in aiding that we bring it into some more of the schools.
And the reason I asked is because part of what we want to do at the department is make sure that we have a plan for every single child.
Yes.
And we know that not every child is going to
course.
go to a college or current technical school. Some may go to the military, and
Yes.
some may go directly into the workforce.
Right.
Why don't we find ways to partner with our sister agencies, our brother agencies, and create that pathway? So I was so excited when I heard about the cadet program. And I really, truly want y'all to consider bringing it to every high school, because it is a way for us to ensure that there is a way forward for our
Definitely.
children who don't choose those alternate routes.
Definitely, because I started in the cadet program at
Nice.
age 14.
Okay.
And from there, we actually competed against 450 other cadet programs throughout the nation. And in 1999, the Virgin Islands ranked 5th within the nation when we went and we competed against those other 450 cadet programs. And so, I'm very proud of that. I know we ranked 5th, but I mean, still,
you're right.
we did great.
Yeah.
And so from there, I went into policing from there. Now, yeah, I'm 3rd generation police officer, but my first passion wasn't policing.
Okay. Okay.
Right, but I got into it and I began.
That was mine, right?
No.
Actually, I wanted to do forensics.
Nice.
I still feel like in some cases, when I get cases in the Department of Education, like a detective hat comes on, Chief Santos, if I watching anything on TV, it's Law and Order, it's everything dealing with policing.
So Commissioner Martinez gonna call you.
So he could call me. That might be another career after this one, right? But I do want to commend you,
Thank you.
for the cadet program. And again, let's look for ways to expand that because it's a valuable program for our students. Mr. Mason, before we wrap up, because there's 30 minutes to go quick, what would you like to tell Chief Santos about your relationship with VIPD?
Oh, well, it's a wonderful relationship right now. And the past couple months has been great, especially on St. Croix, because St. Croix was left behind compared to St. Thomas and St. Croix.
Right.
But I see a change in leadership.
Good.
And it's working real good. And I really want to thank you very much, because anytime I pick up the phone and call you, I get a response.
Good.
That
Good.
you come in, your men, Felto,
Yes.
anybody within VIPD,
Yes.
and I call and say, listen, I need help, Assistant Commissioner Brooks.
Yes.
You're ready to help us. So
Good.
I really want to thank you very, very much for the partnership
Yes.
you help us with. And if we were in training for our monitors, you're always willing to help us
Yes.
whenever we have to do so.
Yeah.
I really appreciate that.
Yeah, well, I really appreciate you guys too. Like I was telling you earlier, Commissioner, for the past couple of years that we've been working together, I do see that great relationship between us and the VIPD since Mr. Mason jumped on as well. I would like to give big kudos to my school resource officers, Lieutenant Marisol Colon, the Detective Danisha Samuel Santos, and all of their officers who work for school security. I really appreciate all of them. But I also want to thank all my police officers as well, because everybody have a hand in it. Like you said, Special Operations Bureau have taken their time to go to the schools. They do the K9 demonstrations. They come out and speak with the kids. I'm sure some of you have seen them racing in the hallway spending time. So and that goes back to where it takes a village. So it took everybody within the Virgin Islands community and the VIPD to come out and help with education. And because at the end of the day, when we retire, it's them children left.
So I want to thank you guys for tuning in today, our listeners, and thank you to the guests for being here. Parents, we need you to partner with the department, and we apologize for the late podcast, but thank you so much for tuning in to the Commissioner's Corner, brought to you live on 93.1 FM and on YouTube and Facebook pages. Thank you.
Thank you.
The views and opinions expressed are entirely those of the on-air participants and do not reflect that of the station's board, management, staff, or underwriters.